Hi, shalom friends. If you have pen and paper handy, you might want to grab it. Otherwise, just listen and do it mentally. Right now, where you are, in terms of your age, profession, place, status, can you make a list of perhaps the 10 most important things in your life? To the extent that without them, life would be maybe impossible, or at the very least, so uncomfortable that it's inconceivable. Yeah, bear with me. This is not absolute and unconditional, but here's a random 10 of my list. Number 1 on the list is me. For me, being alive is quite important. I actually cannot imagine myself not being alive. And then there's my health. In addition to being alive, I think about a little bit my heart. I want to have a healthy kidney and healthy hands. Of course, being married, my wife. I can't imagine life without that, God forbid, without my wife. And then my children. And then my parents. And as a rabbi and as a teacher, my teacher. Very important to me. His teachings and his personality. Then, of course, there's what do I do, my profession. By the way, we're at number 7. I need a place to live, so I have an important consideration. Number 8, my home. Like many of you, and perhaps more than many of you, I like to eat. So what I eat and how I eat is quite important. 9. Probably having number 10, the least important of the 10 would be my car, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you get an idea of what I'm referring to. Now, let's contrast this to the average person who wakes up in the morning. What are his issues that he's thinking about? Well, he might be thinking about, what am I going to wear? He might be thinking about the commute. Oh, another hour schlepping, He might also think about the people at work, the work itself. He also might be thinking about, I wonder, did my team win? And so on. Now let's stop and compare these two lists. The first list are things that are so important to him that without them it's unimaginable. And yet, what is he consumed with in the day, especially in the early mornings of the day, with the least important things of life? Don't you find that odd? Well, of course, you would argue in return and say, well, we take things for granted. It's not like his favorite team winning is more important than his daughter's grades in school or health. That's certainly more important, but he just what? Well, if it's more important, why should he take it for granted? Why take your children for granted or your wife for granted? Or for that matter, you yourself for granted. Let's contrast this with another picture. The picture of a Jew who, men or female, both, who wakes up in the morning, the first thing that person thinks and utters is, I acknowledge you, God, for giving me life. You covered the most important things in the first 12 seconds of being conscious. There's you're alive. There's a God who gave you the life, and I acknowledge that. And then after doing the morning routine, he thanks God for his body. He just got rid of his waist. He makes a Asher Yotza, blessed are you, God, who formed man with wisdom. And look at those beautiful first two pages of the prayer book. I thank you for sight. I thank you for clothing. I thank you for walking. I thank you that I'm not crippled. Amazing stuff. I thank you for beauty. Then what does he do? Again, male or female. Then you say a short prayer or a long prayer. What are you praying for? Well, although your prayers are actually a reminder of Jewish history where you come from, there's a reminder of it'll come a time when they'll be better. All of the prayers in the Shemoneh Esrei are in the plural. You pray for your family. So after you do your half hour or so Now you're ready to start thinking about the incidentals. Did your team win? Is there a blockage on the 101? Will you meet the people that you want to meet at work? Did you finish your project? And so on. They're all important. But friends, come on. Is that the first thing that you should be thinking about? They say in 1973, after the Yom Kippur War, many of you, I'm sure, still remember that. There was the Secretary of State. He was a Jew of German descent. His name was Henry Kissinger. And he flew from Egypt to Israel and all over the place. They called it shuttle diplomacy. So this is what is being said. I don't know if it actually happened, but it certainly could have happened. That at that time, the Prime Minister of Israel was Golda Meir. And her admirers used to say, she's the only man in the Knesset. Tough lady, running a country. So she meets with Henry Kissinger, who's Jewish, and this is what he says. Mrs. Prime Minister, I'm here to represent the United States of America and the best interests of the United States of America. I'm the Secretary of State. I am also Jewish. However, I want you to know where I come from. To which she responded, thank you, Mr. Secretary of State, for actually telling me, because in English we read from right to left, but in Hebrew from left to right. So you ended off that you're a Jew. So in my eyes, you're a Jew, Secretary of State, representing the United States. Whether or not it happened, I don't know, but it's a beautiful thought. What often we put last should be put first. And we all know the difference between having a 1 and a 0, or a 0 and then a 1. Major difference. So I'll be brief and to the point. We should be mature. Let's set our priorities straight. Let's put emphasis where emphasis should be given. And of course, I left out one word, though I said it very quickly in the beginning, and that is God. God is number one. He gives us life. And he gives us all of your 10 or 20 or 50 or a million different items that you're going to put down that make your life better. The number one priority is you are alive. You have a God. God has a servant in you. He has a partner, in italics, in you. He trusts you. There's a relationship between you. That's how you start your day. Shalom.